Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Katie Peterson. I'm a doctor of physical therapy, holistic pain management specialist, and I help people reclaim their lives from chronic pain. And tonight I want to talk about what chronic pain is. So in a prior video, we talked about what pain is, and tonight I want to talk about what can sometimes cause pain to become chronic. Because so many people struggle with this, with chronic pain, myself included. And in my prior video, I framed pain as being an alarm and our nervous system being the alarm system. If you haven't watched that video, I would recommend pausing here and checking that video out. That's also on my page because that's going to set the framework for this. So just to give a brief rundown, our nervous system is a very sophisticated alarm system. Our brain is our supercomputer. Our spinal cord and nerves are all of the sensors that go out to tell the supercomputer what's going on in the house. And information is exchanged between these two day and night, 24/7, from the day we're born until the day that we die. And pain is the alarm that goes off when our central computer determines that the information coming to it from the sensors is concerning enough to be considered a threat to us. So pain really is a signal of threat, and it's a communication from our central computer, from our alarm system, that there might be something that we need to attend to, whether it's a nail in our foot or tension in a muscle or whatever it may be. I also, in my last video, talked about this concept of pain existing without the presence of tissue damage. And this is a really crucial piece to understand when it comes to chronic pain. Because if we only think of pain when it comes in conjunction with an injury, we run up into one little complication that makes that a really hard thing to explain away why pain sticks around for months, years, however long, right? Because science has proven that the body heals. We've all seen this. We get a cut, it heals, we have a scar. We break a bone, we wear a cast, it heals, we see it on the x-rays. The body heals, tissues heal. So if pain only occurs when tissue damage is present, then how do we explain pain that's present either in the absence of an injury altogether, or how do we explain pain that stays past the time of tissue healing? And in science, we know that it takes about 3 to 6 months for tissue to heal. That's soft tissue and bone. Within 3 to 6 months should be pretty solidly healed. And so when we have pain that lasts beyond that 3 to 6 month window, that's when we start getting into the realm of chronic pain. And why does this happen? The reality is when we have an alarm system in our body, our nervous system, that alarm system can get really sensitized. I usually tell people to think about it in the realm of cars, a car alarm, right? If you have an old junky car that's been through the ringer, has been on the road for 20 plus years, etc., probably not going to have a super sensitive alarm system, right? Whereas if you have, a brand new Ferrari or Tesla or I don't know, whatever fancy car you want to insert here, Porsche, that car is probably going to have a much more sensitive alarm system. And maybe that alarm system is going to be so sensitive to the point where if you even look at the car wrong, it goes off. Sometimes it feels that way. And so when we apply that to our body's alarm system, our nervous system, sometimes our nervous systems get really sensitized. And when that system becomes sensitized, that alarm is going to go off really often and not always at times when it's appropriate. And so when we're dealing with pain that is sticking around because of a hypersensitized nervous system, then it can cause it to be less responsive to traditional treatment methods, and it can cause it to stick around and cause pain in instances where there is no tissue damage, where there is no threat. But our alarm system is just going off of past experience. And so what can cause this alarm system to become sensitized? A lot of stuff. And a lot of things that we don't always think about affecting pain. Our nervous system, involving our brain, it also involves, our thoughts, our emotions, our stressors. So if we get an injury at a time when we are dealing with a lot of other stressors on our body and on our nervous system, then when our body takes a snapshot of that moment of injury in order to record it and prepare to protect us from injury in the future, our supercomputer, our central computer, our brain, can mistakenly record normal daily stressors as a risk for injury. So, for example, if someone gets injured at work, they're the main breadwinner of their family, they have kids, they get injured and they can't work because of that injury. And so not only in that moment are they dealing with work stress, financial stress, whatever's going on with their kids, the injury itself, the position they're in, the stressor their body's under, now they're also having to face the emotional strain of worrying that they won't be able to work again, worrying that they'll lose their job, worrying about further income strain. And that creates just this waterfall of stressors on our nervous system, all of which get recorded in our mind. And so when we go through the rehab process, we rehab our back pain and the tissues heal, our brain will be able to recognize the tissues are healed, but our brain is also going to recognize, oh my gosh, all these other stressors are still present. I'm still worried about losing my job. I'm still worried about my kids in school. I'm still worried about paying the mortgage. I'm still worried about all of these things. And so our brain can interpret that as the threat isn't over yet. And when we think of pain as an alarm that tells us when threat is present, then it makes sense why our brain won't let go of the alarm, because our brain still feels like there's something we need to change, something that we need to know about. And so that's oftentimes why we get stuck in chronic pain, is mostly because our brain is doing its best to protect us. Unfortunately, that part of our brain, the survival part of our brain, doesn't have the advantage of being able to think through and logic through all of that. And so when this happens, when that alarm system gets oversensitized, we need to find a way to bring it back down into a grounded and regulated place in order for that alarm to go off. And if we never address that hypersensitivity in our nervous system, we never address the fact that our nervous system is going 90 miles an hour all the time with all of these stressors, then our body isn't going to let go of that alarm. It's not going to let go of the signal of pain because it's still trying to protect us. And so when we've had an injury and we rehab it and we're beyond that time of tissue healing, we've gone through all the processes and all the treatments, we've been referred to the specialists, we've ruled out everything else, and we're just stuck with this chronic pain that just seems to infiltrate and invade every part of our lives. That's when we need to widen the scope and take a look at what other things could be contributing to our pain. Because our nervous system doesn't exist in a bubble. Our nervous system doesn't only monitor tissue damage. It monitors everything in our lives, everything in our mind, everything in our body. And when we start to address that underlying cause of the hypersensitivity, whatever it may be, slowly, our body's going to start to let that pain response go. It takes time, but it will. And so that's what we're going to talk about next, is how to desensitize the alarm system once it's sensitized. Because it can be done. It can be done, I promise. And so if this was interesting to you, if this resonates, if this makes a lot of sense, let me know down in the comments. And if this sounds like you or someone you know, please like, share, subscribe, and I'll be sharing some practices to teach you how to desensitize your alarm system. All right, on to the next. And in the meantime, take care of yourselves. See you in the next video.